Hey everyone, like I've said in the past on many occasions, liberty is definitely rising in Canada. And even those in the established media, those who purport to be your opinion makers, well, even they are starting to acknowledge it. Of course, you're going to get a different representation of where their stance is going to be in publications such as the National Post or the Financial Post, as opposed to, the CBC, CTV, or the Globe and Mail. But you're definitely seeing it out there nowadays that people are starting to acknowledge, and the word libertarian, just the very term and word libertarian, is being espoused and spewed by a lot of people. So at the very least, people are going to at least start doing that Googling, right? Starting to search what is a libertarian. And once they've done that, trust me, once you've actually taken the time to learn what the philosophy of liberty entails and what it means, those principles and values that came as a result, that were a consequence of the Enlightenment era, understanding what individualism represents and what social and economic freedoms entail and how you actually get from point A to B, denying slavery, denying subjugation, and denying authoritarians their capacity or ability to centrally plan, micromanage, and dictate the lives of millions of people. Yeah, those values, those principles, they are back on the rise once again, because as we're seeing after a couple hundred years, that's the thing. They degrade over time because the ruling class, they take center stage. But that can only happen for so long, and then the people start to stand up and they start to rise up, and all they need at that point, at that junction, is to have some proper information, some education, and to be properly enlightened in regards to what it even means to be a free human being. That's all it needs, right? That's the precipice. That's the foundation. That is the starting point that is needed, that is absolutely necessary for people to start having the genuine conversations and dialogue that will actually pivot us away from authoritarianism and back onto the path of genuine individual liberty and freedoms. Headline out of National Post, Andrew Coyne. There is room in Canadian politics for Maxime Bernier's worthy experiment. It's an uncertain mix, yet if Bernier can pull it off, he may be able to make libertarianism sellable in a way it has not been in the past. Oh, it has been in the past. It's just been so long, right, that people tend to forget. The formation, the founders of the United States, right, that were promoting individual rights, freedom, and liberties, which made that country go from just a formation of 13 colonies to the most powerful and economically prosperous nation on the planet. Those people, the bulk of those people, the founding fathers, would have been back then considered classical liberals or libertarians. People that cared about genuine economic and social freedoms. So no, it's happened in the past, but yeah, a couple hundred years go by, and I guess people's memory is not as sharp as they used to be. In principle, there is room for a new party in Canadian politics. Arguably, there is a need for one. That the established parties have tended to pander to narrow and particular interests rather than the broader public interest is well documented, as is the result. An ever-expanding state devoted almost wholly to redistributing income, not from rich to poor, but from taxpayers to well-organized and well-cultivated client groups, notably the state's own employees, the public sector. Oh, Coyne. Oh, wow. Listen to this stuff. Like I say, it's people like us. It's those of us who are libertarians that are emboldened people like Coyne to even put articles out like this, because they feel comfortable when you've explained to them the moral and ethical stance that we take, us libertarians. How can you deny that? You can't deny that reality unless you want to use a whole lot of sophistry, political language, and lies and rhetoric to deny reality. In the same way the state redistributes from consumers to producers, from west to east, young to old, and so on, in the service of neither efficiency nor justice, nor even raw numbers, but just whoever frightens politicians the most. Andrew, once again, great article. I'm salivating, I'm drooling over here as I'm reading almost, to see this kind of stuff being presented by someone in the media publication in Canada. I'm thoroughly enjoying this, folks, as you can probably tell, which over time people learn has come to include everybody, We subsidize everything that moves in this country and charge ourselves higher taxes to pay for it, then demand more subsidies to offset the burden of taxes. And the fruit of all this frantic attempt to redistribute from everybody to everybody, a nation brimming with grievance and resentment. Every part of the country convinced that the rest are making out at its expense. A party that proposed to end the money go round, to wean the country's business class in particular off the public teat, to shut down the regional development spigots and bust up the cartels that behind our protectionist walls are permitted to genteelly pick our pockets, would therefore be a signal addition to our politics. If it chose to frame this critique not as a fairly straightforward application of Economics 101, but as a radical determination to govern for all Canadians, so be it. And if it made life difficult for the established parties, so much the better. Right on, Andrew. Because they will never learn, they will never change course, they will never correct their errors in their thinking, in their logic, or in their morality if people aren't standing in opposition and giving them some guidance or showing or leading by example that there's always a better way, or there at least is always another way, and that people genuinely do have an option. The market for ideas thrives on competition and choice as much as any other. The cartelization of our economy is in part a reflection of the cartelization of our politics. A more robustly conservative party, in particular less burdened by the conservatives' crippling self-doubt, would be a welcome addition. Even if I don't like all of the ideas, millions of Canadians do. And it is wrong that they should go unrepresented. Right? Yeah, what is it? 40% of the population now, or roughly 8 to 10 million Canadians that don't even delve into the fray as far as politics because they realize that none of the established parties represent them in any way. And they're tired of picking of lesser of evils. They want genuine choice and a different option. And Maxime Bernier, as well as Tim Moen in the Libertarian Party of Canada, are doing that. Maxime's party, by the way, is called the People's Party of Canada. So you have that party to choose from, or the Libertarian Party to choose from. But I'm thinking at this junction that we're all going to be joining forces. And rather than voting for the Libertarian Party of Canada, although I'll be touching down with Tim and make sure we're in line and on board with doing things right here. But we might all have to join and show solidarity with the new party that Maxime Bernier has introduced, because yeah, we can't be spreading our love all everywhere into all these parties, because once again it greatly reduces our numbers and our voice. We have to show solidarity with each other, and it has to be under one brand. So whether it's the Libertarian Party of Canada or going forward the People's Party of Canada, those of you who genuinely care about liberty and freedoms, like I say, classical liberals, genuine conservatives, independents, libertarians, or people that are just critical thinkers, we all have to start coming together and supporting at least one, just one party. Not multiples of parties, but at least one party that stands on principle and represents our values. Or at least in a much better manner, or at least much more closely aligned than those establishment parties that have been taking advantages for far, far too long. Anyways, this is a fairly long article, which I will post a link to it in the description of the video below if you want to continue on and read it. But I think the most important things have already been covered in these first few paragraphs is that, yeah, the Canadian people are finally going to have a genuine choice, right? Or at least a large percentage of the Canadian people who have had their voice stifled, denied, and suppressed for so long in this country are actually going to have somewhere where they can reside, where they can join forces and hopefully put this country back, or at least on the proper path to genuine individual liberties and freedoms. The future looks bright. And the reason why that is because liberty is definitely rising in Canada. Go Max, go! This is Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.